Hello, possums. Now, here we are, winter in Australia. It could be worse, you know. So I've got a full house, so I'm out here in the courtyard. So good to see you guys. I've got some of your questions to answer today. But first, I wanted to have a look. Over the weekend, the Texas GOP has decided to go all out on a platform of madness and hatred. And it's just these dreadful homophobic, transphobic, everything phobic, ghastly ideas. But the jewel in the crown is to say that the election was stolen. Can you believe in the teeth of these hearings, they're going all out. So this is the thing we have to remember. These people are not changing their spots, and they're also not pretending to be anything else than authoritarian, fascist nightmares. So let's have a look at Texas. How will that go for the GOP? It doesn't mean they're necessarily going to go to the polls with it at this stage, but it wouldn't surprise me. And because I come from an outlier state, I know that it appeals to a certain percentage of the population. But let's hope that there's enough decent, sane Texans out there. So Texas, GOP going for the big lie. What's going to happen with that? All right, come on down. I can't see a thing here, so I'm actually doing this entire reading by braille because of the sunlight. Oh, my cards are upside down. They get the moon, the nine of swords, the king of pentacles, queen of cups. Interesting. They, with this moon card on top, it's almost lunacy for them to go this far because the hearings are penetrating. Now, 58% of Americans overall want to see Trump facing charges. That number hopefully will even climb. If it gets over 60, it'll be really fabulous. But this is insanity. You know, what do they think's going to happen, these people? What do they, I digress, viewers. These ones who still support the big lie, do they really think that that's the future of American elections? Whoever has the biggest posse of armed thugs should take the prize? Or do they think, why bother having elections? It's inevitable. Okay, so the moon there. However, it's going to end in tears for them. I'm not saying necessarily Dems will capture the state of Texas, but I'm saying it won't end well. It will actually lose them people, not gain them people, because the ones who are hardcore on side, rusted on, they're already there. They don't need this. They're already there. So who do they think they're going to attract with this sort of policy? They're trying to please the trumpet, of course, you know, King of Pentacles, here he is. They're still trying to kowtow to this criminal entity. Now, to me, the interesting card is the Queen of Cups. This is the Queen with the lid on her cup. Now, who is it? Is it a person, or, as we've been seeing more and more often, is this the collective of women with the lid on the cup? These are the ones who may not be saying anything in their family, but who aren't impressed. Let's just do a couple of little clarifiers here. So Texas, the GOP platform, what's that about? And then we have to get on to Ginny Thomas. So let's look at Texas GOP platform. How's it going to go? Okay. The merchant Oh, and the merchant in the White House. Oh my God. Yes. I'm so keen on these cards now. So we're not talking about Biden here. We're talking about the King of Pentacles, right? The merchant in the White House, symbolically, they want him back in the White House. Well, the problem with Trump is he's no one's friend for life. He is a highly transactional being. And so now the biggest show in town has to be DeSantis versus Trump. Because if I was a GOP strategist, heaven forbid I even uttered the sentence, you'd want DeSantis over Trump. And so DeSantis now has an enemy in the Yeti, the fight for Florida. So we'll be looking at that in coming weeks. For now, the hearings are moving towards the fake electors. This is very serious business. You know, the West is very critical of third world countries and how they run elections. They tend to be supervised, at least by the UN. It's getting to the stage where, I don't know if the UN's the correct organisation, but they have international people surveying the vote. It's getting to the stage where America will have to have international supervision if it wants to hold on to a democracy. It's just outrageous. So these are lesser players who were asked to do something radically big, and because they had stars in their eyes, I've been asked to do this, and you know, isn't that great? They went off and did it, this fraudulent act. It's a federal fraud. Is it wire fraud? Is it conspiracy and all of that? What is it? But it's definitely something. And Ginny Thomas was in the thick of it. What's going to happen with this woman? I've read on her before, and it was a bit of a nothing. So let's see. Ginny Thomas, should she be worried? Let's see now. The lovers, well, that would be her and Clarence. The loss, legals. Oh, this is our card du jour. It's Queen of Cups. Maybe the Queen of Cups for now is Liz Cheney. Okay, as I said, she gets the Lovers card. If she goes down, you'd have to think that the dreary, lazy, lecherous Clarence Thomas would have to go down with her. This is loss. This is legals. And this is the Queen of Cups. Food for thought, intrepid viewers. Is it not food for thought? So we have this Queen of Cups. Maybe it's Liz Cheney. Now, the point is, can you imagine how heavenly it would be? Because we know even by now, Clarence Thomas won't even back off from a vote, let alone resign, because he's on a good wicket. He's just going to hang in. But if he was forced to resign and Kavanaugh had to resign because of some dirt that may still appear on him, that would create two places on the Supreme Court. Dare to hope, dare to dream. All right. So in other news, the House committee found that the gun lobby, where are my figures here? The gun lobby actually all up gave $250 million to their candidates, and that actually amounts to twice the wage bill for a year for Congress. Guys, you've got to stop this lobbying. The oligarchs have just been able to run rampant. and the very basics of American democracy have already been sort of so compromised. So hopefully, after a win in the midterms, the Dems can do something to really bring back a working democracy. You'd have to hope so. So things aren't marvellous for her. Let's have another look at Eastman, because he's on the skids now. Don't you love the way all the other lawyers have, you know, pulled themselves back, apart from Giuliani, and who stopped speaking altogether, I think, Giuliani. And they've dumped Eastman and Sidney Powell in it, and they deserve to be in it, but the others don't deserve to be off the hook. I really hope the DOJ goes hard on all the lawyers, because then it'll make it really hard for these people to get representation. So I'm going to look at Eastman. Quick look at Eastman, because I don't even like spending a nanosecond in their company, but let's have a look at Eastman. Okay, because he was a sinister worker behind the scenes. He wasn't a media slut like Peter Navarro, but he did enormous damage because he was the last one left standing, saying to the Yeti, when everyone else had said, you cannot do this, well, maybe we can. Pay me. Good luck with that. Okay, Eastman. Biden's turned up. Oh, this is a work in progress. So for some reason, I suspect for Biden to turn up, I mean, obviously the whole maneuver was to keep Biden from taking power. So it's not surprising he's turned up. And I think he'll be looking very closely at this case, even though he's got a lot on his desk. Eastman is a mercenary. Are we surprised? No, we're not. He just did it, you know, thinking. That's the thing. These people claim to be patriots. They couldn't care less about anyone else, let alone the whole of America. Out and out mercenary. And he gets the fool card. It was profoundly foolish. And we know why. Not only did he risk the country for money, I doubt he will have been paid the money. So that has to be the dumbest mercenary act in the history of the modern world. They're looking at it, DOJ, looking closely at, they're building their case plank by plank against Eastman, and hopefully Sidney Powell as well. All right, now guys, I've been asked to look at those serving members who lost their lives on January 6th and immediately after, who were injured in January 6th, and some who took their own lives after January 6th. Let's look at them and their families, because this is one of the saddest aspects of that day. And then we have to have a look at Jared and Ivanka. I'll get to that in a minute. But focusing here first, they are running court cases. Okay, and these could, like we so know, court cases take years, but that could eventually really bite into some of these people if they have good lawyers who manage to connect the dots between who said what to inflame this situation and who failed to speak to calm it down, because they are directly responsible for these men and women who went through so much on that day and afterwards. Okay. The serving staff on duty, January 6th. What is happening to them in the aftermath? I'll do a 5-carder for them. Yeah, they're working together. Now, these cards are sort of saying to me a few things, but the outcome card is particularly interesting. This is them working together, plus people working together against them and their case. So it's the card of dark money, and it's working both ways. But their cases will ultimately rest on whether they and their families get significant payouts or not. Legally, it's at a crossroads. I think because they're probably individually suing this one or that one, they need to work out where the common ground is, what they can use of each other's cases. And I think this is lawyers with the swords at the crossroads. How does Michael Fanone's case compare and add to someone else's case, etc., etc.? How do you treat those who did take their own lives after the event? These sort of discussions in legal terms. I hope someone's rallying for money for them. They will need money to fight these cases. And I'm sure there's been some crowdfunding or something, but if you can let me know in the comments, do you know any more about the funding for those individual officers impacted by January 6th, please? Over the top of the whole reading, the energy over the issue, the Fool. So the thing with the Fool is it can be foolish, and at the other end of the spectrum, it is stepping bravely into the unknown, knowing the universe has your back. Now, I'm sure they're not individually feeling that confident, so I think it's probably somewhere in the middle. So this is going to be hard work. Here's the card of the burden, the 10 of Wands. Hard work for them as individuals, because it keeps coming up and up and up. But they get the card of karma and destiny. They will hopefully have the strength to follow this through. And more than symbolically, their cases are really important for America, who has just seen again that original raw footage of the day. Remember? It's a different ballgame. The wheel is turning, and they have actually a huge part to play in the shifting towards, you know, people thinking, actually, this wasn't our finest hour, right? Now, another viewer has asked, Manafort. Okay, with Manafort, he who did a bit of jail time, then got a pardon, still knows a lot. He was campaign manager back in the very dark days of 2016. Will Manafort be charged with something else? And will that involve Jared? Was Manafort involved in brokering connections for Jared? And I'm going to say also Don Jr. So Manafort, is he looking at further charges? He might get lost in the wash. I hope not. Manafort. Manafort. Okay. Oh, there's some judicial women coming down on Manafort. Let's see. Okay. Let me just draw a little clarifier or two on the Empress here, and then I'll describe the cards to you. Oh, my word. Yeah. Oh, the cards can be amusing. Okay. He better be careful because he has some defending to do. The Queen of Wands is not happy. Now, it's not the Queen of Swords, so I'm not going to say it's necessarily, this female justice or that female justice, but a senior woman is not happy with Manafort. Okay. There's a good deal of manipulation going on, and the manipulation of money. So I think in answer to the question, yes. And somehow, here's the Empress. Could this be Ivanka? I hadn't thought of that. And I was going to do her next, so maybe it's a bit of a blur in my mind, so I can't swear to this. But I get a feeling, here's the thing. If the legal cases go ahead against Jared, Ivanka, and Don Jr., possibly Eric, everyone forgets poor old Frodo or Fredo or whatever his name was in that series, she could actually dob in her brother here. The Empress magnifies. So Manafort already had Russian connections. He was instrumental with the early Don Jr. stuff, but I'm thinking this is Ivanka. Now, back to Manafort. He was always a bit of a peacock, and now he's not well. Poor Snookums, not well. This could be true, this could be fake, but he's seriously going to have a Dr. Feelgood on side who'll say this man can't stand trial. Those doctors will be in demand in the next 3 to 5 years, you can believe that. Okay, so that's them. Now, more of your questions. Oh, yeah. Another question was, how will the testimony of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers impact Giuliani and Stone? Because they both had very direct dealings. Physical dealings as well as everything else. So Proud Boys and Oath Keepers impacting Giuliani and Stone. Because now, of course, we've got a new saying, crying like a proud boy. They are spilling their guts because not many 30-year-olds want to spend 30 years in prison. That cemetery is not good. So let's see. Proud Boys and Oath Keepers testimony will be very interesting. Let's see what we can find out. All right. Now, I'm collectivizing the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers because of time as much as anything else. So I'm lumping them together. In some cases, the Oath Keepers will be really important. In some cases, the Proud Boy testimony. But I'm lumping them together. Far right, self-appointed militias together. They're walking away from the pact that they had with these men. Well, of course they would. Of course they would. Queen of Pentacles. This is often my Nancy Pelosi card, but I don't think she'll be overseeing the fine print of this. I think this could relate to these men in the sense, the wives and girlfriends, most of these guys were turned in by wives and girlfriends, may also be giving some additional testimony. I just thought, that could sink them. There's going to be a new leader emerge. You know how Michael Cohen, who was actually a mean-spirited, quite vicious toe cutter back in the day, totally corrupt, but he managed to reinvent himself by sweeping the slate clean, going, everything I did was foul and awful. Mea culpa is the name of his podcast. And we don't see much of that, God knows. So there could be a new leader who emerges from this, who does a complete turnaround on the organizations themselves, a leader of one of them. The Nine of Pentacles, learning your lessons and wanting, this is the card of the comfortable life. And in this case, it might mean an extra phone call or a bar of soap, right, in the context of prison. The world is watching this very closely, all right, because it's not fun for the rest of the world to see American democracy not challenged and on the brink of being dismantled. It is not fun. There's an old saying, America sneezes, the world gets cold. Okay, so trust me, the world is watching. So, Jared and Ivanka. Now, intrepid viewers who have been with me since the beginning may or may not remember, I did several videos in 2018, 2019, that's years ago now, and I said, Ivanka and Jared are going to end up living in Tel Aviv. Mark my words, right? So what's happening this week? They're off to Israel. Now, don't tell me they're not house hunting. Of course they're house hunting. So I don't think they're going to go just yet, but I've always felt that was in the back of their minds to escape the legal strife they are in. They're cashed up now thanks to the Saudis. We're saying Saudis. It might not be Saudis. It could be Emirates, could be, other Middle Eastern nations. Qataris. Okay, but they're cashed up. They're about to go to Israel for a week. I think they'll only come back long enough to, book the haulers. Let's have a look. And Tel Aviv is the most sort of exciting of the Israeli cities. So let's have a look. Israel, Jared and Ivanka. Going to move to Israel. Now, the question is, does Israel have an extradition treaty with the US? And I looked that up this morning. Oh God, my phone's going off. I looked that up and they do, but I'm sure Ivanka and Jared could keep it in the courts in Israel and the US for years. Okay, so let's have a look. Are they moving? All right, they think it's secret, but it's not. Well, at least it's not on Tarot Down Under. The Hermit, We'll just, no one will know. Really? Really? Okay. I think they're definitely thinking about it. They're definitely going to go somewhere, and I'd say that'd be in the top 2 or 3 of their chosen destinations, unless they choose to go to Slovakia or somewhere in mainland Europe. Now, that's because they're evading the Queen of Swords, but also the emotional fallout of the King of Pentacles. Now, he's under serious pressure now, the Yeti, and he can have feel-good moments in his day or his week, but they're getting fewer and further apart because the GOP are comprised of treacherous worms. So they'll dump him as quick as look at him if he starts to sink further. And not without reason, Ivanka and Jared are afraid that he will tip over into full-on manic insanity. I don't think that's too strong, and that's what they're trying to avoid as well. But their primary motivation, because it's a family of narcissists, their primary motivation is staying out of jail. Right. Oh my God. Well, just see if there was other news for you. Oh, I just want to talk again briefly about the gas prices. They've gone up. There's coming back a bit, going up, back a bit. here's the thing, all these companies, all the big energy companies are posting record profits. They are withholding supply to drive up the price. They're using those profits for buybacks to buy into the stock market in their own interests, all of that, and it's happening everywhere. So one thing we can do, or at least those of you in the US, June 29 is Don't Buy Gas Day, right? So don't. Get organized ahead of time. Don't buy gas on June 29. Now, the other thing is in most states, there's still time to register to vote. So please, please, individually, are there people in your family? Have you got a next door neighbor? Have you got someone in your family who last voted 25 years ago and they've probably fallen off the register or something? Really, is there anyone you can help register to vote? Because that doubles your vote. If you can get someone else to the registry and or to the polling booth. So really try and make a plan. And I wish you all the best with everything. And I'll see you again so soon. You won't even know I'm gone. Okay. Chauito.